Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everybody, Namaskar. Now we are in the fourth lecture of the course. Today we will discuss about composition, nutritional and health value of Indian spices. The topics or concepts which will be covered today include classification, composition, sensory attributes, antimicrobial potential, antioxidants, bioactives and health value of Indian spices. We will also discuss some important features of the various colorants or coloring compounds or flavoring compounds which are present in the spices, and finally we will conclude the lecture after discussing the infestation and quality losses in spices in general. Now, let us see first what spices mean. That is, various people have defined spices in various ways. The Geneva based International Standards Organization ISO defines the spices as vegetable products or mixture thereof which is free from extraneous matter and is used for flavorings, seasonings and imparting aroma in foods. According to the Webster, any of the various or aromatic vegetable production as pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, mace, allspice, ginger, cloves, etc., which are used in cookery to season and to flavor sauces, pickles, etc., as a vegetable condiments or relish, usually in the form of a powder. They are also as a condiments collectively. So, Webster says the spice as this. Famous spice author Roger Garten has described the spice as a product which enhances or alters the quality of a thing. For example, altering the taste of a food to give it zest or pungency, a piquant or lasting flavoring or a relish to the food. So, these are the some of the definitions of the spices. Let us see the production and export statistics of spices. India is the world largest producer, consumer and exporter of spices. The country produces about 75 of the 109 varieties listed by the ISO, and it accounts for half of the global trading in spices. In the year 20, spices worth US $3.62 billion were exported from India. Top importers of Indian spices in the financial year 21 were US, UAE, UK, Hong Kong, Australia and Canada. The large cardamom in this figure, as you can see, the countries like Afghanistan, Pakistan, United Arab Emirates, UK and USA and Canada. These were the major countries which imported large cardamom from India. Okay. And the quantity of the exported and value of the product is also indicated in the figure. You can read it from there. So, the total spice export was US $1.68 billion from April to August 2021, and in the August 2021 alone, it was to the tune of US dollar 312.57 million. This figure gives production and export stats of spices. If you can see, in the term of quantity of spice produced in tons in 2019-20 in India. So, figure shows that as green line that cumin with 2,99,000 tons production, the cumin was the highest in India in all the spices production in 1920, which was followed by turmeric and then ginger. India also produced, that is coriander, that is 57,000 tons in the year 2019-20, and other spices are also shown here in the figure. In the term of export of spices from India in million US dollar individual spices, the figure gives data from 2016-17 to 2019-20 the actual value, and 2021 it is the estimated value. So, and you can see that every year, particularly 18-19, 2020, which was the COVID year, the export of Indian spices, the total value increased, and in the 2020-21 it is further expected to increase. So, this gives a very good sign of about Indian spices. In fact, India is known as the hub of spices. Okay. If you see the major item wise export of spice from India in 2021 value in the terms of crore rupees, chili with 31% share and approximately 8,000 crore rupees stood first, which was followed by cumin, mint products, spice oils and oleoresins, and even other small cardamom, ginger, curry powder, pepper, coriander, they were also exported in significant proportion. Herbs, spices and herbs, very often we use these terms. So, let us understand what does a herb mean. So, herbs are plants valued for their medicinal and aromatic properties and are often grown and harvested for these unique properties. The main axis of the herb consists almost entirely of the stem. The root or other underground structures only are rarely being present. It includes part of the aerial shoot, usually the tops, the whole aerial part of the plant as lobelia, occasionally whole plant including roots, and the whole undifferential plant part, plant body or thallus of the lower plants of Thylopedia. So, these are the of the herbs. So, if you make a comparison between spice and herbs, spices are generally dried parts of the aromatic plants used for seasoning and flavoring food, whereas the herbs are generally leaves of the aromatic plants which are used to impart flavor and adder to foods with sometimes the addition of color. The leaves are commonly traded separately from the plant stems and leaf stalks. Spices is often used in dried and ground form. Herbs are generally used in fresh form. Spices is used for flavoring, coloring and preserving food items. Herbs are generally used for flavoring or garnishing a food. Common examples of spices include cinnamon, cardamom, pepper, turmeric, saffron, cumin and cloves. Sage, rosemary, thyme, parsley and basil include the example of the herbs. So, these herbs and spices you can see here in this figure, they are, that is the, you can say, medicine cabinet in your kitchen. For example, oregano, it helps soothe stomach muscles. Ginger, it has anti-nausea remedy. Garlic is a naturally known since ages as antiseptic agent. Fenugreek helps flush out harmful toxin. Cinnamon helps lower blood pressure. Black pepper helps relieve indigestion. So, all these herbs and spices, they are the basket, that is the medicine cabinet. They have very, very important health value and health property. As far as the description of spices is concerned, they are described in terms of their taxonomy, that is monocotyledony or dicotyledon, or they are also classified according to the nature of the spice, like hot spice, mild spice, aromatic spice, herbs or aromatic vegetables. They sometimes classified on the parts of the plant used as a spice, like aril, brake, buds, pistil, leaf, kernel, etc. And finally, in this table we give in the figure, that is major chemical constituents of a spice, that is spices. They are known as the hub of the essential oil. So, these spice essential oil have various chemical compounds, useful chemical compounds like phenyl phenoldiorides, terpenes, flavonoids, coumarins, anthocyanins, aliphatic aldehydes, esters, ketones, acids, or even various aromatic compounds are present, and these compounds give the spices and herbs their various health properties or other values. Okay. So, we will little bit elaborate the classification, that is classification of the spice based on the part of the plant used, like aril, it is the mace of nutmeg. Barks, plant of the bark of the plant tree, it is cassia or cinnamon. Bulbs are onion, garlic, leaf are basil, bay leaf, mint, marjoram, sage, curry leaf. So, all these the leaf portion is used. Similarly, roots is used for angelia or horseradish. Seeds of ajwain seeds, anise seed, caraway, celery, coriander, dill, fennel. So, here is the different spices, that is the different plant organs of the spices that are used, and accordingly they are categorized or classified. Okay. The spices are also sometimes classified on the basis of their economic importance, and in this category, that is spices are grouped into two major categories, two major groups, that is major spices and minor spices. Major spices are those which contribute major share in the spice trade industry of the world. Okay. These major spices, they include 5 spices like small cardamom, black pepper, chili, turmeric and ginger. So, these spices, in fact these 5 spices, they contribute about 75 to 90% of the total foreign exchange earned through the spices. So, these are the 5 spices included in the category of major spices of the India. The minor spices, that is the excluding these 5, all other spices, they come in the category of minor spices. Like these minor spices, they are further grouped into 5 subgroups like seed spices like coriander, cumin seed, black cumin, fennel, anise seed, celery, mustard, poppy, caraway, etc. Or bulbous spices like garlic, onion, leek and shallot. Aromatic spices, clove, cinnamon, allspice, aniseed and nutmeg. Or leafy spices like curry leaf, mint, rosemary, bay leaf and parsley. And acidulant tree spices like tamarind, kokum or anardana, etc. So, these are the further classification of minor spices. Okay. Botanical classification or taxonomy. As per the standard botanical terms, the spices are named according to the genus and species. For example, for ginger, the genus name is gingiber and the family name is officinale. Thus, the ginger's botanical name is Gingiber officinale. Okay. In the table here, the botanical name including family, genus of certain or major spices that is grown in the country in the two groups, that is monocotyledonid or dicotyledonid. They are given here and you can read it from this table. Each spice also belongs to a larger family of plants. For example, in the case of ginger, the family is Gingiberaceae. Turmeric, that is Curcuma longa, cardamom, Elateria cardamom, are two other species that belong to the family of Gingiberaceae. So, in the same family, the other many spices may also belong, which you can see from this table. Okay. So, the other way of classifying the spices is on the basis of the climate requirement of the crop, and according to this, the spices are grouped in three major categories: tropical spices, subtropical spices and temperate spices. Tropical spices need high temperature and abundant humidity. They are easily damaged by low temperature. The examples of this group of spice include ginger, turmeric, black pepper, cinnamon, cocoon, galagal, small cardamom and clove. Subtropical spices are those that require relatively low temperature during their vegetative or early growth stages and high temperature in their reproductive stage. Examples of this include cumin, fennel, coriander, fenugreek, onion and garlic. Subtropical spices grown during summer are turmeric and ginger. Temperate spices can withstand low temperature, that is below 5 degrees Celsius and frosty weather, but are damaged easily in hot weather. Examples of this category of spices are thyme, saffron, caraway seed and savoy. Okay. Spices are also classified on the basis of their origin and flavor, that is like aromatic spices like cardamom, aniseed, celery, cumin, etc. Pungent spices like ginger, chili, black pepper, mustard. Phenolic spices like cloves and allspice, or colored spices like turmeric, saffron and paprika. The classified of spices based on their life cycle include annual spices, biannual spices or perennial spices. Annual spices complete their life cycle in a single or one season. Example of this include coriander, cumin, fennel, fenugreek, celery, etc. Biennial spices complete their life cycle in two seasons, such as those of onions and parsley. Perennial spices complete their life cycle in more than two seasons, like black pepper, saffron, clove, nutmeg, cinnamon and so on. Similarly, if we see the classification of herbs, generally herbs are classified based on the botanical families, crop, duration and growth habit. And the terms of botanical family, that is they are classified as Apiaceae, Limaceae or Liliaceae. The examples of all these are provided here, like Apiaceae includes celery, fennel, parsley. Limaceae includes hosp, mint, basil, marjoram, or Liliaceae include leek, chive and so on. Classification of herbs based on the duration of crop, like annual, that is herbs which live one season and dies after that. These are the basil, coriander, dill, etc. That is biennial herbs which live 2 seasons and die after that, caraway, leek, parsley are the perennial, that is plant which live more than 2 seasons like sage, laurel, chili and mint. Classification based on the growth habit includes herbs, shrubs and trees. Herbs are the caraway, coriander, mint, oregano, marjoram, etc. Shrubs, rosemary, sage, thyme and trees include pigmentia, curry leaf, laurel, etc. So, now we have seen at overall that overview of the classification system of various health and spices. Here is this table gives the various compounds which contribute, that is major compounds and minor compound which contributes to the flavor of the spices. Herbs and spices are herbal spice. For example, in allspice the major flavoring compound is eugenol. In addition to this, there are other compounds like cinnamol, phenanedrine or carophyllene, etc., which contribute to the flavor of the allspice. In basil, like sweet basil, major compound contributing to the flavor of the sweet basil is D-linalool. The minor compound may include methyl chavicol, eugenol, cinnalol, etc. Similarly, in the coriander, again D-linalool is the major compound. In marjoram, carbachol is the major compound, and D-linalool, eugenol, chavicol, methyl chavicol, D-terpenol, etc. are the minor compounds. In rosemary, cinnamol is the major compound which contributes to its flavor. Baronol, linalool, eucalyptol, camphor, boracic acetate, alpha-pine, etc. are the minor compound. So, this gives a list, and let me tell you, this is not a complete list. Even till now, there are many of the spices where complete list of the flavoring compound is still unknown. So, people are still working, and they have analyzed that there are many where hundreds, 200, 300 or even more than that compounds, that is chemical compound, organic compound, aromatic compound are there, which together constitute or contribute collectively to the specific peculiar flavor of that particular product. Now, let us discuss nutritive value of herbs and spices or herbal spices. So, let me tell you, most of the herbal spices are rich sources of protein, vitamin, especially vitamin A, C and B, and minerals such as calcium, phosphorus, sodium, potassium and iron. And it is it is a known fact, and that is true, that is these spices, that is parsley is the richest source of vitamin A, while coriander is one of the richest sources of vitamin C and A. Parsley and chervil are also the richest sources of vitamin K. You can see in the table where the nutritive value of herbal spices in the gram per 100 gram of the edible portion is given, and see that even oregano, it contains about 11% protein. It is almost equivalent to that present in the wheat. It contains around 10% fat, that is much more than the wheat and other many oilseed, it is equivalent to that. It has around 306 kilocalories per 100 gram of the edible portion. Similarly, see marjoram, it contains around 13% protein, 7% fat, okay. It gives 271 calories per 100 gram. Bay leaf, it contains around 7.6% protein, 8.4% fat in addition to the various micro and macronutrients, and it gives 313 kilocalorie heat energy per 100 gram. Can you imagine? But still, let me tell you, although these spices they have good nutritional value, many of them are good sources of protein, fats, carbohydrate, they have high energy, they have high protein than the regular staples that we need, but these spices they are not consumed as a source of nutrients, as a source of protein, fat or energy in the body. The major reason being that these spices, they contain various aromatic compounds, flavoring compound, coloring compound, and majority of those compounds have pungent taste. Many, that is very strong flavor. They have, that is aromatic properties, they have antibacterial properties, etc. So, because of this flavor, they cannot be used in bigger quantities, that they cannot be used as staples. So, these spices, therefore, that they are not considered as a source of nutrients in our diet, rather they are used as a source of flavoring, coloring, or boost antimicrobial properties, etc., boost health value of the food. Because these compounds which are present in these spices, that is those antioxidant and other compounds, they are effective at a very low quantity. Similarly, antioxidants in herbs and spices, many herbal spices are known as excellent sources of natural antioxidants. Phenolic compounds are primarily the antioxidant present in spices, and there is a linear relationship between the total phenolic content and the antioxidant properties of the spices. Okay. Again, here I have given in this table that the major antioxidant, major compounds which contribute to the antioxidant activities of the herbs or spices, like for example, in the rosemary, carcinic acid, carcinol, rosmarinic acid, rosmarinic, etc., they contribute to the antioxidant potential. In oregano, there is derivatives of phenolic acids, flavonoids, tocopherols, etc., marjoram, flavonoids, etc. So, all these major spices, that is these are the compound, many of those are polyphenolic compounds, are the group of those compounds of those groups. Okay. Also, here in this table on the right hand side top, we have given the relative antioxidant effectiveness of the herbal spices, that in the substrate, either in the lard or oil in water emulsion or sausages, water or ground chicken meat. In different these substrates, these extracts of these various spices were used, and it was their antioxidant effectiveness, how effective they are as antioxidants on various substrates. It was studied, and many cases it is found that rosemary excels in almost allspice, rosemary, marjoram, they have good antioxidant effectiveness or relative antioxidant effectiveness among all these substrates. So, we can say that the oregano, thyme, marjoram, sage, basil, fenugreek, fennel, coriander, and pimento, they possess antioxidant properties better than that of the synthetic antioxidants like butylated hydroxytoluene, etc. This synthetic antioxidant BHA, BST, they are extensively used by the edible oil industry to extend their shelf life. So, now the trend is there that instead of using those synthetic antioxidants, these extracts of these herbs and spices are being used. So, they provide the source of natural source of the antioxidants. Then antimicrobial properties in the herbs and spices, particularly these spices, they contain essential oils. So, using appropriate extraction method, these essential oils are extracted, and the essential oils used as a antimicrobial. They are highly inhibitory to selected pathogenic and spoilage microorganisms. How they are extracted, etc., this we will discuss separately in when we discuss in either in week 8 or week 9 spices and spices products. So, the inhibition of the microbial growth due to spices essential oil is due to the damage in membrane integrity, which further affects the pH homeostasis and equilibrium of the inorganic ions. The optical isomers of carabone from mentha, specia, and anthem soa, that is known as Indian dill, were active against a wide spectrum of human pathogen, fungi and bacteria. And again, in this list I have given, that is common name of the spice, its scientific name, and the components, that is antimicrobial components which are present in them. For example, in oregano it is charbocol, in turmeric it is curcumin, in clove it is phenylpropanoic acid like carbachol, thiamol, eugenol. So, these compounds, essential oils which are present in these products, they are the major source of the antimicrobial properties. Here in this figure we have given a comparison of the different spices like asafoetida, ginger, tulsi, clove, cinnamon and oregano, and there we are used that at different concentrations, and their effect on the inhibition of the E. coli was studied. So, you can see that in almost all cases, that is when the concentration of the compounds extract increases, the inhibition percent increases, and if relatively you can see that at 600 microgram per ml concentration, turmeric, asafoetida, clove, tulsi and thyme, they lead to around 100% inhibition of the E. coli. That cinnamon gives around 95%, ginger gives around 90% and oregano about 85% inhibition. So, they all right. So, here again the antimicrobial activity of herbal spices are shown. I will not read, you can see from the table there is different spices, what are their mode of application, like basil, it is essential oil is extracted, it is applied and it is active against Ascosphaera asepsis. Similarly, azwine, its seed extract, it is effective against many like Monochronia persilla, Rhizophila soloni, etc. Fennel, it is the essential oil, it is effective against Staphylococcus aureus as Bacillus subtilis. Oregano and millet, its essential oil is effective against Aspergillus orchimis. This parsley, spearmint or basil essential oil is effective against Staphylococcus aureus, E. coli, Candida, Aspergillus. So, this is a very we know from the years together, at least in our country, that is these spices, they are traditionally known as a good source and they have very good antimicrobial potential. Now, the very good insect repellent properties, spices and herbs. The herbal spices have good insect repellent properties. Powdered plant parts or extracts of seed or essential oils are active ingredients separated from the essential oils and oleoregens of spice are used as insect repellents. The repellent action is noticed against many storage pests of grains and pulses. Herbal spices can also be used as mosquito repellent. The essential oil of basil and piperidine alkaloids are separated from long pepper, they repels mosquito. So, again here I have given in this table insect repellent properties like spice, mode of application like fenugreek, it is seed extract is applied and it gives that it is effective, it repels the Tribolium castanum or Ascophyllus etc. Okay. Then spices and herbs are used as colorants. These spices are the natural sources of colors, bringing the advantage as against chemical or synthetic colorants. Spices tint in different colors from yellow and orange to different variations, red, greens etc. The coloring property of a spice is due to the presence of various chemical compounds. The principal compound include beta carotene, lutein, neoxanthin, chlorophyll etc. in the leaves and herbs. The most common spices which are used as a coloring materials are paprika, red pepper, mustard, parsley, ginger, turmeric and so on. So, using spices as a colorant in the food as natural alternative to avoid the use of conventional synthetic colorants. Spices and herbs as a flavor. So, depending upon the region, different spices are used for flavoring foods, bringing a even distinguished flavor to each food style that even gives culinary identity. For example, in the France, they use a specific type of flavor like savory, marjoram, rosemary, thyme etc. So, their food has peculiar fragrance and flavors. Similarly, in the England, those regions they use ginger, mustard seed. In Mexico, cinnamon, vanilla are Arabian Peninsula they use more black pepper, caraway seed, whole cumins, etc. So, flavor given by the spices are due to, as I told earlier, presence of certain families of chemicals like phenylpropanoids, monoterpenes and other phenolic compounds. Some important chemical compounds that are present in the spices which have good flavoring potential include eugenol, epiol, sulfonol, vanillin, piperin and so on. Okay. Then finally, now I come to our last portion, that is infestation and quality losses. During storage, spices and spice products are attacked by beetle and moth pests, among which the spice beetle, that is Cibolium peniceum L, and the cigarette beetle Lacedoderma faricia cerescone F are the predominant. So, in dry products, when the insect infestation is high, there will be heating and moisture condensation takes place, which is conducive for the spoilage by microorganisms. So, insect pests of stored spices and common spices are provided, spice products are provided in this table, like for example, this Lacedoderma cerescone, that is it is coriander and its products turmeric, ginger, etc. They are the insect, they affect this. Similarly, Cytogram crenella influences the chilies, affect the chilies. In fact, Cytophilus oryzae moth infects the turmeric, etc. So, you can see from this list. Okay. So, the common control methods for preventing infestation of spices, because in the spices of course again we will study these details in all these things, but the major insect infestation is one of the major problem in the spices. So, the fumigation, irradiation or heat treatments can be generally used. These are the generally technologies. We will study all these things in detail, but I will just in summary I will tell today that fumigation involves the application of various chemicals in the gaseous phases that act against pest organisms. Okay. That is currently spice or spice products are disinfected with phosphine or methyl bromide fumigant. Methyl bromide is recommended for fumigating spice and spice mixes, generally at 24 to 48 gram per cubic meter with an exposure period of 24 to 48 hours under normal atmospheric conditions. The gas is relatively less effective than ethylene oxide against microbes. It is particularly suitable for vacuum fumigation of processed and packaged products including spice powders. Recently, however, the compound has been identified to cause serious ozone depletion with an ozone depleting potential of about 0.7. So, repeated treatment of spice products with fumigant causes discoloration and loss of some essential oils. That is, the ethylene oxide is suspected carcinogen and it forms chlorohydrin or bromohydrin residues which are also carcinogenic. Hence, the use of ethylene oxide has been discontinued in many countries. Okay. Fumigation of cloves by ethylene oxide at dosage recommended in various regulatory agencies, that is 550, 750 and 1000 gram per cubic meter for 6 hours at 25 degrees Celsius. It was found that the volatile oil content was decreased by 1.7 to 2.2%. So, the drawbacks of the fumigants currently used for disinfestation and disinfection of stored spice include residue problem, insect resistance and adverse effect on the environment. So, now in fact, the ozone or irradiation, ozone treatment or irradiation, they are having good potential there as far as the disinfestation. Irradiation, we will take up irradiation chapter separately, but let me tell you here that gamma irradiation of whole and ground spices are effective against insect infestation at 1 kg. Spices such as coriander, cumin, turmeric, chilies, they are treated by gamma radiation at 10 kg and stored for 6 months. They provide to retain, they are proved to retain good microbiological quantity. In general, there is no adverse effect has been observed in spices irradiated at the recommended dosage of 10 kg. Okay. The appearance and sensory qualities of irradiated spices and spice products remain unaffected, and about 30 countries including India have approved irradiation of spices, and about 20 countries are already irradiating spices on a commercial scale. The selected cases where irradiation has influenced the quality of the spices and spices product. Here I have given the commodity, their dosage level, and the parameters which they affect. That is, like for example, when there is a turmeric garlic powder, that is 10 and 30 kilo gray it was, then pH was altered. Pepper paste or white pepper, nutmeg, ginger at 15 kg volatile constituents were increased. In NSA at the dosage level of 10 kilo gray, the chemical constituent like enthol, chavicol, N-acetaldehyde etc. were reduced. So, there are ample literature, we will take up this. Heat treatment is another. Insect infestation by heat treatment has been considered since a long time. Okay. Spices such as black pepper, fennel, coriander, anisette, turmeric, they are heat treated at 70 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes, and it did not affect the quality and microbial load. However, the quality was not affected, but the microbial load was reduced considerably. Sterilization of spices with pulse steam, in which actually the steam condenses on the spice particles, help to eliminate microorganism with minimum adverse effect on flavor or aroma. Pasteurization of spice could be done by high frequency and microwave treatment as an alternative to irradiation and fumigation. Thermal regulating method generally causes one or the other undesirable changes in the treated products. Hence, the heat treatment can be supplemented or combined with other control measures, and I tell you again, the irradiation and ozonation appear to be a better strategy for. So, finally, I will summarize this, that herbs and spices have medicinal and aromatic properties which can be used for flavoring and health boosting effects. Spices are classified based on the plant used parts, economic importance, taxonomy, climate requirement, origin and flavor and life cycle, whereas the herbs are classified based on botanical families, growth habit and crop duration. There are various compounds like eugenol, D-linalool, cenolol, cravenol, apiol, etc., which are responsible for flavor in the herbs and spices. Most of the herbal spices are rich sources of micro and macronutrients, antioxidants, and have antimicrobial properties. They can be used as colorant and flavoring agents. During storage, however, the spices can be infested by insects. Fumigation, irradiation and heat treatment are some of the methods to control them. These are the references which I have used in this. Thank you very much.